neighborhood address.
Oh, so she's in my neighborhood. I'm Sheridan Green as well.
She's 112th, like the 6100 block.
Yeah, I'm basically, I'm 109th in Eaton.
Oh, she's up in that area.
Yeah, so she's, okay, so I wonder if she, yeah. Yeah, because if she's in Nancy's subdivision, that's me as well, and Sheridan.
Well, like I say, I just looked by the address.
Yeah,
It's up around
somewhere in that.
112th in the 6100 block.
Oh,
So my deduction.
yeah, exactly. Although I haven't been following it super closely, so I don't know if there are more people that have thrown their hat to the
At this
ring.
point, no, but there are people that are.
You're running.
Who said that?
I heard a rumor. Have you not, you haven't filed yet?
I'd heard a rumor too. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the world, yeah, the world's worst kept secret, right?
There's a part of me, if I, you know.
I do have a fan club out there, believe it or not.
Yeah. Well, you've been very active in city politics, policy, all that sort of stuff. Sure, I get it. You are the Water Warriors, right? You've been the Uplands and what was the other?
Anything and everything.
Yeah, it was almost, yeah.
You know, I go to all the planning commission hearings,
Right.
even though it's not uplands, it can be,
Right.
you know. People call me, they want to know, they know,
Yeah.
I know how to get answers or who to go to,
Right.
how to cut the red tape.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Richard.
I never dreamed
The
of.
voice you can't, the disembodied voice in the corner is John Palmer.
Okay. Hi, John Palmer.
How are you?
Hi, Rich. Good to see you again. Always
Yeah.
a pleasant time when I get to see Rich twice in a day.
Oh,
full
yeah, that's right.
day.
Because you guys met earlier today. That's good. Ah,
It's a full week.
Yeah.
yeah. Really crazy time, the legislature. It has been one of the weirdest weeks, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just like the stuff that's already
Those are showing
happening. It's like very early for shenanigans to be happening.
26 inches down.
Shenanigans are already happening. So, yeah,
Get
just
out of your
it's,
car. Why?
this is my seventh session
I've already-
working at Capitol, and
Think about that.
they're all different.
It's just-
They're all
can I
different.
keep it?
And they're not like really super bad, they're just very different, right? So like 2020 was
That's
interrupted
an
by
accessibility
COVID.
issue for sure.
21 was where we were like
I said.
still
From the
dealing with
street.
COVID and people were kind of half in, half out. 22 was a little goosier kind of thing.
But
you
at the
know,
same
and-
time,
and,
like,
it was,
I'm like,
there were so many
Like
distractions that there wasn't as many shenanigans as you, but it's sort of thing.
actually, I went to that
2023,
Starbucks
2024.
and I noticed the sign that.
All sorts of craziness, and it's just,
Yeah.
and again, this
Thank
year,
you.
it's lots of craziness,
Yeah,
and
you come prepared.
I don't think I can predict how it's gonna go. It's like that. Cuckoo. Hello there.
Come.
Well,
Don, how you doing? How you feeling?
That's
I can do it.
got me upset with that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I do
Huh?
it. Taters to do. Did he get?
Yeah,
Were you outside today?
Yeah, but other people are still outside.
Yeah, I know.
Some of them by choice, unfortunately. One guy I
They
was
still
with,
want to be out in this?
he was just he was like in front of a 7-Eleven sleeping bag because his camp had been plowed. And that was Adams County Sheriff. So the guy was with said, I'll drive you over and we'll give you to the back and we'll give you a bus ticket. Didn't want to leave. He's uncomfortable being around a lot of people. I'll be smart people.
But okay, to where would you?
So he could
You're
get
not
back
alone.
to, he would be dropped off. at the-
Oh, gotcha. Get back to
He had a-
So you just didn't want to be.
He was just over like a
Pretty rough.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah. We'll give everyone in just a few more minutes to jump on.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Oh,
Jillian.
there's Jillian. I was like, I hear the voice.
It came out sounding way more like Kermit than I intended it to.
There was no judgment over here, so.
There are worse people to sound like, I suppose.
It looks like we have six.
Everybody staying nice and warm today?
No,
Oh no. Yeah, even my dog, we've gotten into a habit of my sister will call me when she gets off work in the afternoon so that we can have a phone call and catch up on our day or our week, and I'll take the dog out. So my dog gets really excited when he hears my sister's voice because that means we're about to go for a walk. But even he, like, we got maybe a half a mile away from the house and he started doing that tippy tap dance. He's like, my feet don't feel good. Can we go home now?
yeah.
I can't get any cow guest.
When was the last time you brought your computer? I think you're changing quarterly,
Okay, so I
right?
guess
You guys are still changing quarterly? No. Yes.
All for passwords?
Yeah. Yeah. So if it's been a little while.
so why doesn't it even-
I feel old school. I came with my paper this time. I was like all like organized and.
I'm looking at all the past board meetings and.
Yeah, all
So
right.
what you can do, you can just do a forget this network and then just
Oh,
try to reconnect with it, and then it'll ask you for your password. And then you guys are still doing, I think, winter 2025. Yeah.
Lowercase.
Yeah.
cow guest.
Justin, you have 6 of 9.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So we will formally call this meeting of the Inclusivity Board of the City of Westminster to order on this day. It looks like February 12th at 2:06. Welcome all. It's so good to see you all. Hope everyone is staying comfortable and is good in this sort of, I know, chilly sort of climate, hard time. And I know we're going to probably hear a little bit later about some of the persons who don't have the opportunity to get warm by choice. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll just jump right into old business, and then there are all obviously some implications that we'll need to fill a role quickly tonight. We'll talk about in just a moment. But first up on the old business agenda is review and approve previous meeting minutes.
Seth isn't with us. Is somebody taking minutes?
Yeah, so we're gonna.
Is that what you were
Yeah,
referring
yeah,
to? Sorry.
so,
Okay.
Yeah, well, Kate's sort of de facto for now.
Copy
So,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
thank you. So is there any motion?
I motion to approve, last meeting minutes.
Thank you. It's been motioned. Is there
I
a
will
second?
go ahead and second.
Thank you, Michelle. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving last month's meeting minutes?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Jillian, just to
Yes.
be clear, thank you. Were you for the meeting minutes, Jillian?
I was raising to say aye and then I took it
Okay,
down.
thank you.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify. Miguel, welcome. It's good to see you. And Miguel has put in the chat, it's for, is there anyone that is against? And does anyone choose to abstain? So moved. Thank you very much. That brings us to our next item of business. We have had a really, in my mind, sad loss for our organization due to personal reasons. Seth had to step away from the board. So we, he's been with us since inception. I just want to kind of take a personal moment to, publicly thank him and thank all of his service and energy. I'd like to work with Kate, Kate, maybe you and I, if the board is okay with this, I'd like to maybe try to find like a gift or something and have it delivered to him, just as a thank you for all of his years of service. He is for all intents and purposes, a founding member of this board. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we are going to miss his skill set. And And that being said, we do have an opening for board secretaries. So just to kind of talk a little bit, remember we had agreed to a natural attrition state. So this will not be replaced. What this does mean is that one of our alternatives, if we still have an alternate, the earliest alternate would move by just default to one of our regular voting board members. And I think that would be Steve. Was that correct?
Either me or Alan.
Yeah, so it would be,
Flip a coin.
yeah. flip it.
That's a free at the same time.
So I believe it's by just how long you've served,
Mhm.
unless somebody truly wants the choice. So right now, the default would be how long you've served, and I think Kate can look that information up. But because we're missing members anyway, you're both voting members this evening. So Kate, we can look that information up and then they can decide. But in the interim, we need to find a secretary, a person who would be willing to take recorded notes for our group. So is there anyone that would be willing to take notes for our group?
Yay, Jillian.
Jillian. No, you're mine. All right, thank you, Jillian. You're our hero. So Jillian has put her name in for candidacy for secretary. Does anyone else have a need for consideration for that role? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to move Jillian as the secretary of the Inclusivity Board beginning
moved.
tonight?
So moved.
Okay,
I second.
all right, and is there any discussion?
Is
Okay,
there an
Jillian.
SOP or something that I should read so that I can be prepared for this? Because my note-taking skills have been honed mostly in a D&D format, which I don't know how well that translates into an actual.
You know what, Jillian, it will be an adventure for all of us, like D&D or
There
other.
we go.
We do have a basic roles and responsibilities, and afterward, you and I can discuss. There really is no set format to the notes. Obviously, we want to cater to individual styles. They just need to be sort of legible, and they need to make some sense of what we talk about.
Sounds
think that's just
beautiful.
kind of the general
There'll
frame.
be a learning curve, but I'm sure I look forward to rising to the challenge.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you putting your candidacy in. So any other point of discussion before we move to a vote? Okay. All in favor of Jillian assuming the role of secretary?
Hey,
Is there anyone that is opposed?
I
And is
wouldn't
there
blame
anyone?
you.
Yeah, Jillian, no, you don't get to oppose yourself. And is there anyone that would abstain?
I mean, I'll abstain because
Yeah.
it's obviously not fair to vote for yourself.
Sure you can.
Yes, you can, but so moved. So thank you, Jillian. You are now our secretary. So feel free to take notes. I know Kate's taking notes right now, so we can kind of cover tonight, and then you and I can maybe have an offline meeting with Kate, and we can talk through maybe some just the roles and responsibilities of that piece.
I would appreciate that very much. Thank you
Yeah.
all very much.
Thank
So
you.
you have to have them out before the 10 minutes before the end of the meeting.
Yeah,
I'll
In the
have the
parking
timer
lot.
ready to go.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You've got until we get to the parking lot.
I've got very big shoes to fill, and I
Yes,
am
you do.
aware.
Yes, you
Yeah.
do.
Well, we have no doubt that you'll be able to fill them and you'll be able to bring your own style to them. So we appreciate your willingness to serve in that role. Well, that is a sad loss. I'm looking forward to working with you. So
Thank you.
great. Okay, thank you very much for that. Moving on to our next item, which would be building community outreach. And the key point of that would be Arts Week, community engagement. I know that Rich and Kate have been very active in Arts Week. So I will open it up to Kate to kind of give us the overall perspective and kind of where we are, and then we'll get into some more details as we discuss. And Rich, you can feel free, of course, to add any.
You guys, our meeting today was just really exciting. I'm not. It is, okay, there it is. Jeez. No, seriously, me too. Okay. Before I launch in, we always start with sort of the structure of Arts Week is it is it's a collaborative partnership event. It has a really tiny budget. And last year we learned all our engagements need to be indoors. So because of the limited budget and need to be indoors, we're not in a place where we can rent equipment like stages and porta potties and tents and all of that stuff that goes with bigger events. So we really look for our business partners to provide us with space. And then we program in our art engagements, or we look for the high school to give us space too. So our meeting today was super exciting because really this year is really coming together as a partnership. So I can run through the schedule. You guys know it's a full Saturday to Saturday schedule. This was in your packets. The art engagement this year will be the live mural paintings. So we'll have 5 artists that will be painting live at various businesses. So they will be 5 businesses up at the orchard, and then so they have 12 hours total across 3 dates. So there'll be,
cool.
I'm sorry?
That's so cool. I'm sorry. I'm not
I was
muted.
like, so
I
who
was like, that's so neat.
And what I'll start doing with the next month is we'll have a list of all the locations where the muralists will be and all the take and go and all the performers as well. So I'm still working on Shakespeare in the parking lot. I'm not sure DCPA had already scheduled, so I'm hoping we can get them. If not, we've got a lot going on. Sunday is our North Metro Arts Alliance show. That'll be up at College Hill. We're also partnering with Kevin, the city's archivist. He will be leading a specialized make and go art history, get to know Westminster type of engagement, which will be fun. Monday, we have free ticketed tours of the Bowles House. Tuesday is our extravaganza at the high school. Do you want to tell about that?
For the district art show?
The district.
Oh. So basically, our students come together, they've been juried and selected by their art teachers. They come forward, and then we have a series of professional artists, adjudicators that come through, and they will give, final piece. But it is a celebration of the visual arts that are there. And it has student participation from K through 12. So, and then typically staff will sometimes be featured as well. So it's a really exciting thing.
Jazz band.
We've got a jazz band. We've got, it's a gallery opening reception event that would encourage every single one of you to please come in. I always say, if you want to see a true reflection of the diversity of thought, of culture, of belief, of experience, of core values, come to a school. It's always a pretty amazing thing to see. So, yeah.
It's really, of all the nights, this one, I love this one. It's just heartwarming. So, and then we'll be at College Hill Library on Wednesday. We're having an artist roundtable. We have our Sculpture on Loan program. We have 4 women welders who are going to meet and talk about their journey as an artist, what got them into welding. Super fascinating story. One of the welders is, I think she's just over 80 and did not start welding until she retired from her previous profession. So it's pretty cool. So they'll be talking about that. I don't think the free trivia night is going to work out. Just too bad, but we'll try and get that next year. Thursday we'll be at the MAC. The Palatiers they display their art on the walkway within the MAC. So it's sort of an art gallery there as well. So we'll have that open. The Palatiers are also going to be hiring their own artists. So that's the cool thing. Everybody else is bringing money to this event, which is awesome. And they will be doing both artist demonstrations as well as make and go art engagements. So really kind of getting stuff going there at the MAC. On Friday, we'll be in downtown and we will be in historic Westminster. The downtown piece, the Fuse Box is going to be open at 2:00, and they are also hosting an artisan market. We're talking with some of the other businesses in downtown about them having tents across the street on the big plaza there in downtown. It's all weather dependent and they know that. They are also hosting some performance art as well. From 4 to 8, the mini murals and the make and go art engagements will start. During this time, we will also have an open mic down at Creative Corner, which is super exciting. I don't know if you guys have been down to Creative Corner. It's a lovely little coffee shop. And so we'll get Rich's flyer, so we'll get that information out. And so a lot of things that you can enjoy on Friday evening. And then Saturday, we spend the entire day in historic Westminster. So starting at 11, from 11 to 3, we will have the live mural paintings will be at different businesses, but make and go art engagements. We'll have ticketed tours of Colorado Sound. So they're free tickets, but we just ticket it so that we can manage the number of people that are in and they know.
How is the ticketing done on that?
I use Volunteer Local. It's a platform that the city has for our volunteers because we've already paid it. I don't have to pay a ticket fee. So if I used, RecTrack is difficult for ticketed events. It doesn't work quite as well. It's more of a, I'm signing up for a class and it goes this long. But Volunteer Local worked really well last year. So I just set it up. It's like a volunteer, except I changed words. So it becomes a ticket, not a volunteer opportunity.
Okay.
And then it's free. And the cool thing with Volunteer Local is it does automatic reminder emails and I can upload graphics and all that type of stuff.
So on something like that, I just want to follow up. We do have a lot of folks that don't either use computers, have access to computers, or would necessarily be reached by any outreach that we might be doing on the event. Have we sort of thought about possibilities to?
Yeah, so last year we did posters and flyers as well at all the rec centers in our libraries.
Okay,
And
cool.
my contact information was on there.
Okay,
So
good.
if they can reach out via phone.
Then you can help
Yeah,
them. I love it.
I can do it over the phone.
We also talked about having a point of access at the event. If someone does show up, we could actually see if we could almost kiosk.
Yeah.
Them.
Oh, like it's like
So-
in one of the earlier events?
Yeah,
Oh, that's a
like,
great
so
idea.
we can have that, we'll be promoting that.
I
And
would
if
be
somebody
willing to help
truly shows
volunteer
up.
for things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I will actually be reaching out to you guys for volunteer.
Oh, perfect. Great. Okay,
Because I need
good.
docents
Good.
to help with the art, to help explain, to be there with the muralist and explain like who the person is and why we're doing this. So yeah, there's definitely, I'll be sending out an email to Inclusivity, North Metro Arts Alliance, and also the Palatiers Art Club. And then I'll be reaching out to our Honor Society kids. My daughter's still in Honor Society at Jeffco School, so I'll reach out there, and then I'll be reaching out through your team for Westminster. So hoping to have a volunteer at every engagement.
And one thing to mention about the volunteers is we also look at students who maybe haven't been designated as
Oh.
in honor pieces.
Perfect.
But they have leadership or they maybe have that potential to where we really want to support them. It's oftentimes the most creative of children that maybe don't follow the structures of what is typically normed.
Yeah.
So we're looking at ways in which we can delegate that as well.
Awesome. Do I work with Laura on that?
Yeah, I'll be working with Laura and I'll be working with our alternate high school
Okay.
and some other programs.
So, last meeting, I think it was, we had a brief discussion about lack of a indoor venue, like a stage and stuff like that. The schools seem to be a workaround
Yeah.
of sorts.
It's not even a workaround. It's a fabulous facility. Have you been?
No, I've never been to their theater.
You need to come.
So one of the things I'll invite you all, like you're welcome to come and take a tour. One of the things, and I'm with you, what you said last meeting really resonated in the sense that we've long talked about the lack of performing venue space in Westminster. What the city and North Metro Arts Alliance, to an extent Highland Hills and our district are really trying to do is we're trying to find affordable solutions to, we have a modern 700 plus capacity theater right in our high school. So we'd like to host local organizations, groups, community theater efforts. And I can talk more about the community theater effort a little bit later. That will be a summer intensive for all of our community that will be highlighted and showcased in Westminster at the high school. So there's a lot of opportunity. The schools are really trying to work with these groups to host those those maybe organizations or companies that can't afford $4,000 and $5,000 rent a month. We just lost Wheat Ridge Theater Company because they were outpriced and they were in a retail space. So I know that, and Rich can speak to this as well, because this is a passion for Rich, not to speak for you, Rich, but we've long had conversations about not overpricing or outpricing our artists, whether they're visual artists who need a create space or a maker space or studio space, or performing artists who often have to go outside of our city. Or we have to bring professionals in because they don't have companies here. So we're really working through that. So that's a step. I'd like to see more, and I think there's some opportunity, but you're all welcome to tour the facility and hear some thinking. I know that's sort of an extension of Arts Week. It's a little bit beyond, but it does play into kind of our overall vision about how we can serve truly that artistic, rich, vibrant artistic presence in Westminster. So
Then
The tentative Shakespeare in the parking lot really raised that up for me, because I was thinking, well, I hope it doesn't rain that day. And
I
I
know.
wonder if the school auditorium is available. And
Yeah,
Different.
they have it set.
yes,
So, I mean, it would have to be pouring rain and lightning like we had last year on the plaza. That would actually not do it. But if it snowed and it cleared off the way that it did both of those Saturdays, we would be
it'd
okay.
be okay.
We'd be okay.
Well, I'm sure they have it down.
Yeah,
As I've seen outdoor theater, just throw it together because that's what they do.
that's what they do. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty impressive. And Justin, that was a fabulous segue, because you can see what's up there. Subjective Coffee will have an artisan market. We have the art reception at our River Gallery. And then really the music and the performers, please share with them, because
Yeah.
this is so exciting.
So this is where we're really excited to bring some of our inclusive perspective. It's been, I mean, we talked a while ago about, really it's not about working in isolation. And having a bubble of inclusivity. We want to embed inclusivity in every, and I know so many of you have said this, but we want to embed inclusivity in everything we do. That's really, if we talk about the creative arts pipeline at the district level, which is something that I work with and work for, then we really want to focus on how do we underscore all of our efforts in the city, in our partnerships, with that lens of inclusivity and accessibility and awareness. So what we've done is we've kind of created this, and we're still fleshing out the details, but I told you, I think at the last meeting, we'd have a little bit more information. So what we would like to present in this draft is Westminster Music Extravaganza and Arts Education Fundraiser. Obviously, it's not the work, it's just a working title. But you can kind of see the breakdown of Colorado Sound Studios, what they're going to be doing with their free tours. They're going to tour these amazing studios. If anyone has not been to Colorado Sound, it is a phenomenal space that people don't realize. We've had so many professional artists that are very well known that come through in the quiet of night and record some of their really amazing songs and records and then leave. And it's an amazing space. So I will highly encourage everyone to go and check it out. And Kevin, who is the owner operator there, who's been there for years, is such about outreach in the community. He's really been, he wants to create access to outdoor music venues and things within that area. So that's a step for him. He's also about education. So what you can see, we've lined up our quote unquote talent, and these are the anchor talents. So Josh Blackburn is well known in Colorado, and I've given all of the links that you can check out. He's going to be doing a little demonstration so that the studio can showcase and highlight what they do, and people can watch him record and watch him kind of perform. And then there's a switch over to Wendy Wu. Wendy Wu is pretty well known and pretty popular. A lot of great diversity of thought. I believe her parents were founding members of Naropa, so there's a lot of different perspective there. And then we're going to switch gears and bring it over to the high school for a fundraising concert. And what we have is an amazing salsa group. I don't know if anyone has heard of Conjunto Colores. But they're a really well-known salsa band. And they'll be bringing that in, and then we're going to switch over. And in that switchover time, we felt like there might be an additional opportunity to showcase or highlight some local artists, people that maybe are skilled, that are living in Westminster. We were thinking even some of my students, some of the other things, but we're going to fill that time so that Hazel Miller and Coco Brown can then come in, and they'll be the featured headlines of that fundraising concert. And then the proceeds of that concert, all proceeds will go to arts enrichment and accessibility through like scholarships for enrichment programs. The summer art series that the district does, anyone can join. And, we ask for a bare minimum amount or not. It's basically you can pay this or not, but we provide free lunch to all students. That's a part of nutrition services. So part of that will go to that, but it will also take a new level of building out the theater intensive that will be all of July, and that will be hosted at Westminster High School. And it will be a community event. Adults will be welcome to audition. Children will be able to audition. It should be a really exciting time. It will be probably the first in a long time community theater kind of semi-professional program run through our city, which is really exciting. So that's kind of a general breakdown of some of that. Now, we've really tried to do what we can to create a lot of diversity and representation throughout not only this concert or this effort, but if you look at all of the performing groups that Kate has kind of built out, they're really like, we have a lot of different dancers from, celebrating their cultures, celebrating their own backgrounds. So we really have tried to imbue a lot of that thinking here. So, and this is a draft, and yeah, we're getting some SCFD funding that is available to us.
You overmatched it. How exciting is that? So the Creative Pipeline overmatched the SCFD funding that we had for the project. So yeah, it's great. I know. I was very excited. Because usually it's like, hey, can you give us more money? But you stepped up. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and what I would like to offer, because it is a partnership with the city, I would like to offer and see if, we can really stamp and, we can certainly bring program pieces to the table, but I'd really like inclusivity board branding with the city
Okay.
on some of these things, because I think it's really important to understand that inclusivity exists throughout what we're trying to do. And really, it's been the heart of what I know I've been striving for. Whenever we leave, as you know, we're not just like stopping inclusivity and we're always championing those pieces. So, I'd like maybe some more review as we get this program more solidified. I'd love for input, for perspective, for pushback from this group so that we could really truly have a successful and well-represented event. The other aspect is we will be talking about accessibility and making sure that even though it's a fundraiser, I'd like to designate tickets aside for persons who may not be able to afford a concert, but still have every right and every opportunity to enjoy what we are going to bring. So we're going to designate a certain amount of seating to support persons who maybe just either need a sliding scale or just a scholarship to get in, and we'll cover that. So
If we can help in some ways by volunteering,
we'd love that.
yeah, let us know.
I'd love in
Ticket.
force to have inclusivity board members. I'll be there, of course, but I'd love to have inclusivity board members there and promoting. Maybe we find some materials that we can promote our work and what we're doing and how we're doing it, and thinking about ways in which we can be more highly visible in our community. So,
Got a question on the venue itself.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen it yet, and
Yeah.
you said it seats about 700.
a little over.
And are you saying that you have? I mean, if you're having all these top people coming and performing, you have great audio system in there.
Yeah, we have actually at the high school, we're very blessed to have a theater manager who's also finishing his master's in audio engineering. So he works there. So yeah, we have a professional quality
Yeah.
sound system. The Air Force band comes in. Yeah, we have lighting. We have professional productions that will like to rent the space, like Littleton Ballet comes in, lots of dance performances. So yes, I invite you all to come in and tour the
Yeah.
facility with me.
So it could be a really good partnership, this, a la, I guess, College Hill Public Library.
Yeah, the high school theater is an excellent facility. It's not like a raised platform in the lunchroom like some schools have. It's a
Yeah.
professional, it's an excellent facility.
It has a full pit for orchestra pieces. It has a lot of different things. So yeah, I'd love to schedule a time to where any of you, yeah, come and tour, see what we can do. So yeah, I think that's kind of the general idea of this, but and those of you who are online and who didn't receive a paper copy, I can send this, or maybe Kate we can scan this
Yeah.
and send it over. Just to give a little bit more detail, it just breaks down, for those of you that can't see it, breaks down the just overall day of that Saturday. So as an addendum.
Awesome, thank you. If things are not written down, they have a hard time sticking in my brain.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so we'll be happy to send that, and then Jillian, we'll make sure to attach that to the meeting minutes as well. What? Rich, was there anything you'd like to add? Because I know you've been a part of that process and just kind of helping support the Arts Week piece.
Well, I think between you and Kate, you really covered it well. I can say a couple of words about the open mic.
Please do.
It's a it's a real grassroots kind of event. Simply making the mic available for if somebody wants to read their poetry or prose or tell a story or make some music. It's if you haven't been down there, it's a nice uh, um, nice little coffee shop, very friendly. The women who run it are great, and they have actually you can buy pottery and fabric items there, and I feel like I'm stealing every time I walk in the door. I walk out with pottery, and it's good. It's good stuff, but it's like stealing. But anyway, but you come and listen, or come and if you've got if you like to play the ukulele or the guitar or the banjo or sing or uh, you come and sign up and do that, or just come and listen to other people do that. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, I think that's kind of an overview of where we are with Arts Week right now.
Good job. It's amazing. I'm
Teamwork.
excited. I'm going to be putting
I
it
know.
all on my calendar tonight.
Yeah, teamwork. It's an amazing team.
It'll be fun. Yeah, thank you.
Next.
Okay, all right. Moving into our next agenda item, which I believe is Counselor Demott.
Emailed and he had a conflict. So
So we will move to our next official item then.
If there's anything that either one of you know about city
Yeah,
council
sir.
wise that we need to be apprised of.
I'm doing,
strategic planning.
they had a strategic planning retreat a week and a half ago, mainly tweaking the current strategic plan. So not doing a full overhaul, but we're just kind of doing a few tweaks. So I think that's it was interactive. So I don't know that they've published the updates yet, but that's part of what they were doing. Otherwise, I think the last couple of study sessions, they've been doing a lot of budget presentations. Kind of each department has been sharing with city council kind of their more in-depth budget, so that as we get into the 2026 budget planning, that a little more aware of like what what does Parks, Rec, and Libraries, does the fire department entail, and things like that.
That might end up dovetailing. It might be something that we might want to start to maybe pay attention to a little bit for the 2026 planning, is to see what some of our goal setting is. And some of those things are items that cost money. But we might be able to see where those could dovetail with department priorities or activities.
Yeah. And I think that brings up a good point as well. And that we have an annual goal review and activities. So we do have printouts and attachments for those of you that receive these via email. I think one of the things that actually was brought up by Michelle and others at the last meeting was, how do we anchor and really create actionable steps to ensure that we are not only aligned to the strategic planning of the city, but how do we measure our progress toward those outcomes and consider outcomes successful and really create a process of reflecting on goals, trying to figure out what data we need to make those goals or determine if we've met those goals. And so I know that one of the pieces that had been brought up is we need to be more focused on policy, because policy does dictate kind of where we are and may have implications around some of our work and how it aligns to the strategic plan. So Kate, did you want to talk a little bit about just kind of the format and what was created just to kind of to help drive our thinking? Not that we have to plan this tonight, but it's going to help us kind of focus what.
Are you talking about this document?
Yeah, the document
Oh, okay.
that is attached.
I just want to make sure that it was in the handout.
Yes,
I think I printed it.
yeah.
I've got.
Because I think actually we even listed out some fairly actionable items that might be more than just a bite on their own, that we may have to break down into some smaller action items that we could chip away at goals. So that by the end of the year, hopefully we've achieved all of the identified goals for 2025.
And something measurable.
Right, exactly, exactly.
I was going to ask Kate about preliminary strategic planning sessions that have been going on. Do they kind of look back at 2024 and say, well, here's what we set as goals for 2024. How did we do?
I wasn't at
Yes.
strategic, but I know that there are, but I'll let you.
Yes, I mean, I think, I don't know if they did that part of that actual day, but they are regularly sending quarterly. They are sending to city council, here was what was accomplished towards the strategic plan. And that's from departments. I don't know if they've had the boards and commissions be doing those updates, but they have had departments saying like, okay, we had, X, Y, and Z under access to opportunity. Here's what we've achieved so far. Or we had to postpone this.
Is that, I mean, that fits into the policy end. Is that something that we should look at on a regular basis, or at least on an annual basis, to say, well, the city did great on this goal, but on this goal, maybe they need some help, and here's some suggestions from our board, or I don't know. I
I mean,
mean,
that's worth us discussing, right? Because that's our purpose,
Right.
is
If we're-
to help guide, make recommendations to council.
right.
So
Mhm.
I think it's certainly worth something. And maybe that's something we spend a little time on next week. Or next month,
Mhm.
sorry.
Mhm.
To maybe do a little bit more of that.
I agree. I think one of the things that we can do is orient ourselves with maybe the form and then come out. Maybe we can request just a work session to where it's not present, unless we need information or data. I do believe we were going to get some data as well tonight that would help us kind of drive our thinking, because I know we wanted to have some follow-up conversation around, for instance, making sure construction sites were accessible,
That's coming up.
and I know that's coming up. So I think I agree with Michelle's wisdom here. I think that it would benefit us if we had some real devoted working time beyond a passive mention, to maybe focus our next meeting on really just aligning goals and maybe having a brainstorm idea and really getting it out there to where we can, again, either validate the items that we've already discussed that may have actionable items, or maybe completely re-examine or refine them or create new ones.
Okay.
like that.
So, on some of these, I've reached out to staff members and they have it on their schedule to come and speak to you. So with respect to this first goal, John McConnell, Stephanie Troller, and Andrew Spurgeon will be coming to your May meeting, talk to you about the Unified Development Code and how that is moving forward and sort of where zoning and all of those different pieces fit. So they'll be doing that. I've reached out to Heath. He's, is he our almost our city engineer, our traffic engineer? So Heath Klein heads up that group specifically to talk about access around construction sites, how the plowing of sidewalks, the placement of sidewalks, the width of sidewalks, all of those issues that lead into accessibility. So a lot of these goals, you'll have people come and present to you. So we had Dr. Cog came and talked about the sub-area plan that they're looking to do. I've reached out to Chris Chauvin to come. We had crossed wires last year, and so he's planning to come as well. I just need to nail down a date. So I've been looking at your goals and then we've been reaching out to staff members, but that gives you information.
Sure.
But then, as far as the next steps, that's obviously work.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges of, the lack of balance, we can collect a lot of input. Data is easy to come by, right? It's what we do with those data that will be really the key. And I think that will continue to align us into actionable and measurable steps for what our purpose is. And I think it will allow us all to feel like we are actually working toward common, strategy and outcomes.
Yeah.
So
I think it's important though to understand
sure.
the effort that the city does have underway. Thank you for
That's
that.
great.
By the way. Yeah.
Get that feedback.
So does everyone feel comfortable in the next, do we have anyone scheduled for March or?
Alex was just going to give a presentation on the sign master plan.
Great.
No,
Naming.
policy.
But
He
that
has
should be
two.
fairly
Yeah, he has two
short.
projects. The sign master plan. Has he talked to you guys yet? That might be coming up. Okay.
So
This has been
Just
naming
dovetail into what we're going to talk about later, or something different, the signage plan.
Oh, the sign, that's different. The signage plan is like how the signs look out in Parks and Rec.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
But not what they say and how they say it.
Just a little bit. It has some ADA, recommendations and like font, but not so much.
Language.
It will have some
That's
recommendations.
a different group.
Yeah.
Doing a language access plan. I know.
Oh,
I know.
Oh,
So it has membership. We can talk
Okay.
about that one.
Okay.
Then, did you want to go through your goals or do you want to save this and have Alex do the naming policy and then?
if we have time at the end of the meeting, maybe we go back to that.
Yeah.
I'd rather move on to the new.
Yeah.
stuff.
I think what we can do is, Kate, to your point, let's leave it as a standing work item for next time. We'll focus that piece of work. And I think Michelle makes a great recommendation that as time permits, we can maybe kind of go through it a little bit more conceptually this evening, once we get through our agenda.
So that'll be good because then we can go in together and sort of say, hey, we've reached out to so-and-so's going to speak at this
Perfect.
conference. We're waiting to hear back because that at least I didn't have time to do it for this meeting because I was like, oh, that's such a good idea to make it a standing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Then let's focus. Let's just, I think Michelle's original point is well taken. Let's go ahead and make sure this is a working piece. At our next meeting, we'll have kind of a workshop if everyone is good with that. And then if we want to talk a little bit concept toward the end, that's fine. I do know also, I want to acknowledge that there's a significant wind chill factor coming out, I think at about 8 o'clock. So I do want to make sure that we
Yeah.
get people out and home as safely and quickly as possible. So cool. All right. So let's move on to our next item. Thank you all. Just going into new business, it looks like an update on the city library master plan.
Let me just share quickly. So we are wrapping up. I think I can just share it here.
Don't you?
There's Donna. Didn't see her come up on the screen.
It's Donna.
Wow, Donna's on.
While we're waiting, hi Donna,
Hi
welcome.
there. Sorry I was so late getting on. Comcast has been doing some crazy things in this place where I live, and I was unable to get to the Wi-Fi. Now, right in the middle of my screen, I have this big white block that says error. So I am seeing some of you and not some of you, but at least I guess I'm here, so that's okay. I'm not able to see what's on the screen right now unless it says contact your administrator.
Yeah.
And let them know it's the troubleshooting details. I have no idea what's going on. So anyway, I'm listening and hopefully I'm able to contribute.
Well, thank you, Donna. It's always a pleasure to see you. No
Thank you.
worries. Yeah,
Yep,
so
we
thank
can
you.
see you fine.
Yeah, we can. So,
Good, good.
yeah. Okay, so up on the screen, we have an update on the Westminster Public Library Plan from 2025 to 2030.
So we are wrapping up and we'll be taking this to City Council here at the beginning of April for adoption. We gave an update to City Council in December. We did some community engagement in the fall with a variety of surveys, community listening sessions, did a community retreat with key partners and stakeholders. And then with the update to council, kind of took all of that information, all of the data, comparing kind of the Westminster Library against similar sized libraries in Colorado, and really looking at our goals for the next 5 years. So this is still kind of our final draft, but not the final until we get the city council blessing. So there is still time for us to tweak it, but this is really now a culmination of a lot of work. So see if this will actually, my computer's been a little slow, so, okay. We will be updating kind of our mission and vision statements, really just, I think we've had the same mission statement for 20 years. I mean, the library's mission is fairly, it's not necessarily ever changing. What we do is fairly straightforward. We provide access to information. We're a community connector, but how we state that, right? Could that mission statement could be updated to just be a little more accessible. So our new mission statement are kind of proposed as a gateway to discovery, lifelong learning, and a welcoming community for all. And then vision, this is a little more our aspirational, kind of where we're headed. You can see that a vibrant hub of knowledge and connection, empowering all with welcoming spaces, compassionate support, and transformative opportunities to learn and grow. So again, just kind of getting our had been kind of overdue to look at this. And then through all of this, we kind of came up with 5 focus areas. It's a little bit behind here that we'll really look at for the next 5 years. And so the 5 areas are expanded outreach, enhanced services and resources. Oh yeah, go right ahead. Improved facilities, increased awareness, and organizational development. And then, with each of these areas, this will now be where we can look at some key initiatives, and then we kind of what will the outcome be? So, for example, in expanded outreach, we really want to kind of leverage our community and city partners, but we also want to reach people where they're at. For those that may have difficulty accessing our 2 physical locations, how else can we get to them? So, an outcome of some of these initiatives, if we really expand our mobile services and increase those partnerships, would be that an increased number of residents are able to actually experience the library offerings. For enhanced services and resources, this would really be looking at our collection and our technology, even our programming. So some of the recommendations were really to expand on our language access, both in our collection and programming that we offer, and expand programming and resources for those with developmental disabilities. We actually see a lot, especially at our Irving Street Library, actually both libraries, of day centers for adults with developmental disabilities. We're looking for places where they can come and use the library. And so it's like, okay, well, how do we better serve them? knowing that they're coming on a fairly regular basis. How else can we make our services accessible, not just to those that are coming regularly, but through other things as well. Improve facilities. This is really looking to at both of our facilities to really see how we improve the space, to really be a little more have a layout that really serves how people want to use the library, if that makes sense. I mean, I think neither of our libraries are actually fairly old. I mean, they're both like 25 to 30 years old, but as things have evolved and how people use libraries, like at Irving Street, it still has a little bit of a crowded feel.
Yeah.
And so there's a way that, we could still offer computers, a collection and study rooms, but have it be a little bit more so people aren't quite on top of each other, when they're using the computer. So it's really just looking at those layouts. Really what came up a lot, so some of the key initiatives here would be things like looking at dedicated teen spaces at both libraries. I think that's actually super important at our Irving Street because it's within walking distance of like 5 different schools. We have teens that come and hang out, but we don't necessarily have a dedicated teen space where they can be teens. And not necessarily disrupt, the rest of the library. Other things we're looking at is just adding more comfortable spaces where people can collaborate, whether that's people working, people coming in for programming, and also looking at our technology. I think that was kind of one of the big feedback is we do offer a lot of technology at the libraries, but it's not always easy to use, and people sometimes have frustrations with the technology we do offer. So how do we get that up to date? Another big theme was increased awareness, is really looking at, we have a lot of great services and offerings, but not all of our community is aware of what we have to offer. So even just a lot of confusion with the College Hill Library, is that a public library? Is it the college library? Well, it's both, depending on which floor you're on, but not everyone knows that. And but also just, I think what really came up in our community focus groups and our community survey was we are surrounded by large library districts, Jeffco libraries, Anythink libraries. And so sometimes the Westminster Library is a little bit lost. They're not sure, are we affiliated with either of those? Rather than understanding that we're actually a city library separate from those two entities, we can work side by side. So how do we help both distinguish ourselves and also let Westminster residents that might not know that they actually have a local community library? So a lot of initiatives that might come out of this is some branding, some increased awareness and advocacy. And one bit, concrete recommendation was really to just kind of up our social media game, which, is, I think that can always be said. We work closely with our Parks Rec libraries marketing team. And so some of that, how do we distinguish, the library, amongst all of that. And then lastly was just organizational development. So some of the focuses here, some of the themes that came out of this was mental health support for staff. We're definitely seeing our libraries being a place where a lot of people are coming and spending a lot of time. And some individuals, that might be in crisis or be having a crisis in the library. And so our staff, these are trained library staff. They're not necessarily trained social workers or crisis counselors. So how do we provide them support when sometimes they're seeing fairly intense situations, and also making sure they have the training that we want to keep good qualified staff. So these were some of the for each of these. I could go through. We have a separate page for each that talks about again, sorry, as I oh, there's a delay. So I'm like, okay. Well, let's see. What I can do is I can email this to again, this will be the draft. We'll be coming forward to City Council with this, where we might have a little bit tweaking, or kind of city administration's taking a look, just making sure, that we've captured everything that we wanted to. But kind of, we have a few more pages that takes each of these areas of focus and then now drills down a little bit to what are the potential goals and initiatives for each of those.
How much of what is in here would you say comes from the community survey?
I would say probably 60%.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
mean,
it
I would
was-
say, I mean, a
So it's
lot of
highly
it,
responsive
it was
to what the
highly-
community fed back.
yes.
Okay.
What we did after the community survey and the community listening sessions and just data that was gathered by the consultants is then we invited some staff and community members to, I mean, it wasn't a large group, but it was a community retreat that then took all of the findings and said, okay, we heard like 20 different things, but that's a lot. How do we help narrow it down? Or how do we start grouping what we heard into some actionable areas of focus? And so, so what came out of that was some additional, like, okay, we heard this in the survey, but we're not quite sure what that means, right? Because, surveys are great, but they don't quite drill down to really giving you some, knowing the full context.
Yeah, they
of
give
what
you
is it.
direction, but
but
not
not- yeah.
actionable items. Yeah.
And so the retreat helped us kind of narrow down, but I would say, a large percentage of this really did come from either the survey or the community listening.
That's
session.
awesome.
Yeah.
So how does this fit? I gotta say, I got two questions. How does this fit, and they're both related, with the city's Parks and Recs
Mhm.
strategic plan, which is in the finalization stage as well? And the reason I ask that is because it was very clear from looking at Parks and Rec's plan that we need another library.
Well,
Yeah. And then how does your strategic overview improve facilities? You don't really call out, pursue additional library services in areas that are underserved or under-resourced. That's,
yes. So we tried to work very closely. In fact, we deliberately did not start work on our library master plan until we were at least about 2/3 of the way through the Parks Rec and Library master plan. Even though it had been, I think we'd had a gap of about 4 years between our last library master plan. So, but we wanted to wait for that. So we were very much taking data that was gathered in the PRL vision plan and using it to inform this. And so even though it's not one of those like areas of focus under, and this is where I don't know, it's like my computer just froze. So let me see if I could make sure I capture it. Under improved facilities, one of the potential goals is to identify additional service delivery outlets. And so that could be a third location, or it could be something like, we have kiosks at our rec centers. Do we need to add that to not just city facilities, partner with a private business or someplace like that? Or is it something like an actual physical location? So that is still here, but we also, I think the phrasing was additional service delivery options, because if the city is not able to do a large capital project, like build a third library, what else can we do in the meantime to reach people if our two facilities aren't quite enough? And so that's where kind of both the expanded outreach is focused on that and improving our
did you
facilities.
guys have the same consultant as PRL had for their visioning process and if not, how did those two entities overlap?
So they brought in a consultant for the PRL vision plan that then subcontracted a few elements. And so for the library element, who they subcontracted to was Rethinking Libraries, and that's who we actually went. And, we still did an RFP for both, and we could have gone with someplace different, but their proposal came back both the cheapest because they'd already done a lot of data gathering. So it was both the cheapest, and they were very familiar with us and could kind of have a step ahead when they started the process.
So there was a connection. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I did mention, PRL did a presentation at City Park. I attended that. This idea of combining some of our housing needs in the community, and we've discussed that extensively in this group with library services.
Right.
And hopefully she called the people in Milwaukee who's done this and said, how did you get this done? Maybe that'll be momentum to piggyback on efforts, just like you said, expanded facilities can take many different forms and
Absolutely. Right. It doesn't need to be a standalone facility, which can be costly to build, but are there business entities, nonprofit entities, other city facilities?
I gotta keep going because library is one of my passions.
Okay.
Just a quick question. I'm confused about the College Hill Library. Does it belong to the community college or is it the city's facility?
It's actually it's the city's facility. So the main floor of the College Hill Library is the city's. It's operated by the city.
Right.
We are leasing it from Community College.
Okay.
So we have a intergovernmental agreement with them. We've had it for 28 years. And so we basically lease that space. But it is, the staff are city staff, the furniture, the services, the programs offered are all, offered by the city. But then the second level is the college library.
Okay.
And we're both named College Hill. That was actually one thing that came up is that's confusing and not everyone understands that it's a public library on a college, community college campus. So that's where some of our branding needs to come into play.
There aren't any issues with that lease, are they? I mean, is the college looking to expand and saying, well, we can always boot out the library?
No, we've been having discussions because even though our agreement with them goes for another 20 years, we're coming up on the first get out clause. At 28 years, one of us could technically get out with no penalty with a 2-year notice, but we've been having discussions and they're not interested in us leaving. I think partially they've seen enrollment drop a little bit. Okay. They're doing hybrid classes, so they're not hurting for space, but yet they get a fairly decent amount from the city every year, for us to be able to lease that space. So we're a very good, we're a good partner, and it means we don't have to think about what will we do to replace that.
Okay.
It's a great space.
No,
it is.
Great questions. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. So any other questions? But we'll be taking this to city council and then really starting to look at just goals and outcomes that we can really work toward the next few years.
Do you go to city council?
I think it's the first meeting in April, which I'll have to look at that date. And the PRL vision plan goes the last meeting in March. So we kind of wanted the vision plan for Parks, Rec, and Libraries to be adopted first, and then, come right back to that.
Great. Good work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I personally can see a lot of potential alignment for our work in several of these areas as well. Yeah.
Which would be great. Yeah. Yeah.
As part of our goal work down the road. Yeah. Great. Thank you very much for that update. And moving into our next item, city signage. So, and Mr. Palmer has given me consent to mention that he had brought up some of his concerns around simply language access specific in context to construction areas, which could be considered highly unsafe areas, especially if I don't know how to read the safety signery that is around, or the signage that's around these construction areas. If I don't speak a language, for example, of that sign, then I may miss a very important safety point. And I think that was the spirit of what was brought forward. I also know, just to give a context, that Mr. Palmer has been working on this issue for quite some time and has been a personal advocate of trying to make sure these signs are more accessible. So we couldn't add it onto the agenda item last time because we had just received that right before the meeting. That being said, what we did is we asked for information around what potential policies exist currently at the city level that could help guide our thinking and our next steps around potential recommendations to city council. Okay.
So based on that part, we reached out to both the communications team and community services, and their responses back were in your packet. So, and that would be Andy Lee, who's heads up the communications group. sent this information to me in that request for information. So basically, the city develops informational materials such as flyers, mailers, door hangers, and billboards in English and Spanish. As part of the city's commitment to equitable access, we are continuing to expand Spanish language signage in city facilities. And then he touched on the language access initiative, the language access plan. It has not been completed, and therefore the established rules and regulations have yet to be finalized. So there's an internal team with representatives from all departments that has been working on this. Once finalized, that information will be shared with the Inclusivity Board. So that's kind of where they are on the language access plan. But kind of related to that is the city is in the process of moving to a new web platform to meet ADA requirements around accessibility. So you'll see that is supposed to go live in mid-March.
Oh, great.
So it's coming up quick. And the city just implemented Access Westminster, which is the new way to report or ask questions to the community. So that had that new system in place, but the language access plan is still underway. And then because there's different people doing different pieces of all the communication, I reached out because it was specific about construction signs around developments that are underway. So that work is actually handled by community services, by our planning staff. And so I reached out to John McConnell, and he responded with that paragraph that states staff's working with city management to devise a reasonable solution to incorporating Spanish language into the public notice signs. He went on to say, these are signs that are located at properties in the development process, sorry about that, and properties where a zoning change is being proposed. And he went on further and said, considering that the public notice signs are solely the responsibility of the applicant, additional time and consideration is being given to ensure that staff gets this right. It sounds just like John. He's always worried about getting it right, and ensures that the transition is manageable by the applicant. So they're definitely aware that this is an issue and they're working on it. They want to make sure that they've worked through all the complexity, because the signs not just indicate a safety issue, but legal issues too. So they want to make sure they're doing that right.
So is that not part of when a developer basically applies, like for their project to the city? Is there not any requirements for multi-language signage at all? So it's not a city policy.
No, that would come under the language access plan.
Okay.
Or if community services, because they said that they're working with city management, so they're working with the city manager's office to develop a consistent approach policy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
There is a lot of ambiguity
Yeah.
here in regard to time.
I think that there's work underway, and I know that John's group had just presented. They have a development review committee that meets every week. And when I reached out to him after the January meeting, so I was thinking it was March, they had just presented. So they had a bunch of comments back from management team, taking it back with Dave German and John McConnell. So they'll keep working through this. But I can reach out to Andy and ask him about timing for the language access plan.
What I would be concerned about, and I appreciate, first of all, the efforts, and thank you, Mr. Palmer, for bringing this to us. I know others have expressed similar thoughts, and Kate, and thank you for your diligence on really getting this information. My wonder / concern would be, there's so much ambiguity here, how much time will need to pass in order to ensure that this signage and these spaces are truly multilingual and accessible for the people of our community. It's a service to our community, so I just don't want this to sort of languish for an indefinite amount of time while people can't you know, they don't have access to what's going on in these spaces. And as the city has made it very clear that development is a priority of their work, and all of the constant development that's happening, I would really like to see a timeline of when they're thinking about this and or how we can support and move that effort forward in a very expedited way, if you will. Because I do believe this is I mean, if many of our residents cannot read signs that are designed for safety and legal issues, then that needs to be, in my mind, addressed immediately. So,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that there
I would agree.
is kind of an urgency to it.
yeah.
Because especially for things like proposed developments, you may be next to a neighborhood that has people speaking more than just Spanish.
Yeah.
Like my concern is that we may be excluding people who may have who may want to know a little bit more about what's going to be impacting their own home and and what that means to them. Like it just may be they may just throw their hands up and just whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but it shouldn't be that way. Every resident should have some ability to speak up if something is going to literally impact their life. Yeah.
And when that goes to my next point, and thank you, Michelle, for bringing it. It's very also specific to Spanish speaking. I would like to see it. I mean, if a developer is doing due process, let's say, and I'm not a developer, but I would presume that I've done the research on the communities, the surrounding areas, and I know what prominent languages are spoken there. And it would be to my due diligence to ensure that those signs are in the language of the persons or the people that have prominent language presence already in those neighborhoods. So I also would wonder if yes, I appreciate this is a step, but to Michelle's point, and this is something that I would also say, we have persons who are Russian, we have persons who are Hmong, we have persons who are, just continue to rattle off a lot of wonderful and diverse and vibrant languages that exist within our great city. So I would think that it would be on us to ensure that we are representing well and being strategic about when we're placing these signs in these construction areas that are geographically bound. How do we ensure that the persons living around in those regions have access to that signage? So,
We don't have to have a patchwork of every single potential
Sure.
language, but somehow there needs to be access to that same information in that language. I would propose that, obviously Spanish is definitely the second largest spoken language in the city. But there are QR codes. Everybody, even my mom knows how to use a QR code now, at 86. She can use a smartphone with a QR code. So you could potentially have QR codes, with a little thing in various languages going for more information. And somebody could QR code it and then they could have access to it in their language.
yeah.
Right on their phone.
So, right.
And that'd be very cheap for
Right.
developers to do.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be quite
I
cheap.
mean, well, it's something, but but it should be part of the process, like you're doing your due diligence.
No, Rich, thank you.
Yeah, Justin and Michelle, thank you for being very diplomatic and and really complete in how you're bringing this up. It sounds like there are a lot of pieces, but maybe it's not as complicated as it seems. I know in our previous discussion, we were really primarily talking about spaces that are being developed. Yeah, so developers, contractors, and so on. So I think that was our focus. And if I understood, the original point, I think that was the focus. And expanding that to other kinds of notice, I think is terrific. And also understanding who lives in a place where the notice is. I think that's an important addition to of things to consider. So.
Thank you. other thoughts.
I couldn't agree with you more about at least getting some defined timeframes. If they're already actively working on it, that's great. Just tell us when you're
Yeah.
gonna have it finalized.
Yeah.
And if it's like, oh, we'll have that by July, then we could come back to them with, seems like an awful long time. What's happening, guys? Just to try and nudge them along a bit. Because I get it. I mean, it's the city. There's a lot of input from a lot of different places. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And I agree, Michelle. And to Rich's point, I don't feel like it's a very complicated issue in the sense that, yeah, maybe there's some cost associated in those things, but it's a matter of urgency. And I feel like, that's an easy point of access. It truly is an easy point of access. Like, if you remember years ago when we celebrated putting the multilingual welcome sign that still exists, you remember this?
yeah.
That was a part of our discussion. I don't feel that this would be a necessarily, or it doesn't have to be a heavy lift. I don't understand all of the processes. I'm not a developer. I'm not city, policy maker. That being said, I want to make sure that we have a defined timeline and some more specifics so that we know how to support in an actionable way. So I would like to keep this as a standing item for update. And then because I'd like to know what's the timeline. And if we don't know the timeline, but the next meeting, I would say, let's maybe make a proposal, or if someone wants to forge a recommendation on some action steps from our end to city council, I believe that would be appropriate.
And, I think also, I want to be really clear with city staff that we're not asking for a Rosetta Stone on every corner.
Right.
Right.
We're asking for, looking at a population and accommodating communication with that population, period.
And also understanding a property's interaction also with visitors, because it's not always just the people who live next to something, but it could be people who interact with, adjacent spaces. So. Yeah. And the other thing too is I don't know how far along the plan is, but, if it's something that they feel comfortable sharing with us, we might be able to head them off if they're missing some points, we may be able to kind of bring them.
Yeah.
A perspective.
Yeah, just our perspective. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It goes back to the idea that inclusivity should underscore everything we do.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate Mr. Palmer. I appreciate others for being passionate about this. I feel that this is something that could be for me, a relatively easeful win-win for our city. But we do need timelines, and I think we need more specifics, and we need to ensure that all persons, all languages, as much as we can, are represented. The great thing about this is, I think, to someone's earlier point, AI makes access far more easy. It's maybe not always accurate, but it has created a level of access that has been unprecedented until now. So, yeah. Great.
Yep.
Thank you. So if we can make this a standing item, we'll revisit this and see if we have more specifics. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Amy, for bringing those to our attention. Cool. All right, moving into what's happening in the community. This is the time where we'll just go around and make sure everyone gets an opportunity to share anything that is coming up. And I'll start with our screen friends, and we'll start with Donna. Donna, do you have anything you'd like to share or add?
Absolutely not at this time. Actually, I should say not absolutely. Actually, not at this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course, it's so cold. Who wants to go outside? So, our residents are not out in the cold very much, and that's good. So that's good. I just was sitting here thinking, and now I'm kind of digressing a little bit here, though. I guess I'm wondering, with this whole discussion that we have just ended, is there not somewhere down the line some liability that could be brought by this whole thing? Where is the city not moving forward? I don't know. I guess I'm just struggling with trying to figure out why some feet
Yeah.
are being drug. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Years.
No, Donna,
I
thank
think
you.
we're on the right. I think we're on the right track because that's what we as a board have been commissioned to do is to, help them see things and maybe move things forward. And so I appreciate the fact that you're keeping it on the agenda, Justin. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. Okay. Jillian.
It is birthday season in my neighborhood. Like we're sending invitations, we're getting invitations. So it's definitely been kind of blinders on for the last couple of weeks in terms of all of the planning every week is like, whose party are we going to? Do we have a present? Is our cake ordered for our party yet? And so that's not necessarily like a community, but in terms of like all the parents just kind of giving each other the nod above the collar, like, yeah, we're all on the target looking for the same toys. We're all ordering the same cakes at the grocery store, and we just gotta try and get through to Easter, and then the kids can spend all summer coming down off of the sugar high.
I mean, there's something to be said about those different community gathering spaces and how we engage. So appreciate that.
Well, we've got a lot of people from all over, and not everybody is in Westminster. A lot of my community and social spaces are so varied, because people are in Broomfield or in Thornton or in North Glen. So even wanting to discuss about things that are going on in Westminster, they're not always confined to Westminster. But it's hard to, unless it's literally the people that live in my neighborhood who are also in Westminster, getting together with a group of people, and they're like, oh, like I had no idea that was going on, two streets down in Westminster. But but yeah, that and the whole like the scramble for it's only February, but everybody's having to make summer plans and figure out summer camps, who's going to watch the kids while we're at work, while school is um is closed up. And the base programs in Westminster are great. Adams 12 county schools are awesome. They have really reasonably priced program that runs for 8 of the 10 weeks of summer, which makes it much more convenient for me. I realize that's a position of privilege to be like, yeah, figuring out what to do for 1 week, no problem. I'm not worried about that. Um, but having to get all of that nailed down now, because if I wait a month or two, there's just no time. There will be no slots open. So it's a bit of a scramble, but it's all good.
I appreciate you sharing your experience with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Miguel. If you can hear us or speak.
Yeah, let me get off mute. Yeah, some good updates here on my end on sort of the more, um, SRC Senior Resource Center space. I think they were given some grant money or some funding from Adams County to extend and provide some more services in that county's, I guess, county line area, which includes some of Westminster. So I did point Chris Lynn over to, I believe, a Lindsay Kimball, um, through getting some assistance through Cody to point him in the right spot to see if maybe the city wants to somehow get involved with that partnership with Adams and provide some more senior services, adult day and stuff like that, more closer to the Adams region and Westminster region. So that's good news there. Um, Nothing quite from a policing standpoint. Just continue to stay involved with some of the review activity. But yeah, nothing major. Maybe it's time for Chief to come back and give an update, or maybe kind of reconnect there maybe that's something we can kind of reach out to see if he could get on his calendar maybe next quarter or something. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you for your work as well. All right, Richard, Rich.
Well, it's Black History Month, and a couple of weeks ago was Lunar New Year, and I know I kind of let those slip by. I don't know if we need a city council uh, uh, recognition for every single thing that happens every day of the year. We do have something coming up. March 20th is Persian New Year, Nowruz. So quite a few Persians and Iranian residents celebrate that. And it's also the Baha'is have also adopted that as Baha'i New Year.
Just to jump in there.
Yes.
We just, I'm working with an applicant who's going to be doing a community festival for the Persian New Year.
Nice.
So, yeah, so that's kind of exciting. I was like, oh, well, that's unusual. Okay. So yeah, so we've got some activity out in the community, and we typically waive the permit fees for new festivals like that to encourage them
Good.
to be here and to grow their festivals. So yeah.
The Baha'is will also be celebrating Nowruz.
Nice.
So.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Richard. Would there be anything else you would like to add? Because I might have an addendum to your
Please
thinking.
do.
Okay.
Please do.
Really quickly, I'm wondering how much, the Inclusivity Board has a page dedicated to the city or from the city website. I'm wondering if we can't really start building out a calendar of events that have these, honorings and occasions throughout our year, to where we can say, listen, it's not all inclusive, but please let us know if we're missing something. We can do our research and due diligence. We can add the things such as Rich talked about, with some of those things that would be important to members of our community, to us. And we create a resource of just the different observations and occasions that happen throughout the year that I think would be nice to acknowledge, and I think are important to acknowledge. So beyond just kind of a passing update, which I appreciate, Rich, by the way. And, there are certain days that are very sacred to certain persons throughout the year that aren't on Judeo-Christian calendars. So something to think about. Anyway, thank you, Rich. Thank you. Was that everything that you wanted to say, or did you have anything else?
I think that's everything anybody wants me to say.
Not true.
We got 2 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got a few minutes. All right, Steve.
I'll go quickly. I mentioned the vision planning sessions. I sat in on that for PRL. We've done a nice job, really, with their vision plans. Quite impressive. Making it actionable is going to be a challenge. And, vision plans aren't usually full of, oh, here's X, Y, and Z we're going to get done. It's more a broader perspective, but I thought it was very well done. Was quite encouraged by that. So
great.
Following up with what we're talking about, I did feel a little remorseful about MLK Day, because in the past I've used that as a teaching opportunity or a learning experience. I guess because it dovetailed with a miserable inauguration. To be political, that inauguration that was going on. I didn't do much. And I think maybe we're missing an opportunity there. So,
thank you.
Anyway, that's me.
No, I think that's.
And also happening in the community, as Justin and I have said, is a lot of people have been sick. Oh, yeah. God.
Yeah.
Michelle?
Well, I hate to be a negative Nancy, but just, since I do work down at the Capitol, I want to let everybody on the board know that If you're not already aware, we're already facing a budget deficit to finance 2025-26 fiscal year for the state. I do expect that this is going to impact programs that directly benefit residents of Westminster. So I just want to kind of get us prepared for the possibility of more stories that we're hearing in and around and through the community of people who are in need of various things that are no longer able to be provided. Because there's no way around it. There are huge cuts that have to happen. And, I know that everybody down at the Capitol is going to try to do it in the best possible way, but there's just no way to prevent impact to a lot of things that are impactful to individuals. So, probably by next meeting, which is when they're going to really be gearing up what they call the long bill, which is the budget bill. I'll hopefully have some insights as to where some of the cuts might be coming, just so that we can start talking internally about, and just asking questions of city staff, like, are we ready? Is there anything, that we need to be aware of that might be coming down the pipe?
So Michelle,
Yeah.
how much of this is connected with federal budget activity that impacts on the state?
It doesn't.
Or just
It doesn't.
local revenues?
There are a variety of different factors. So there's just a bunch of different things that are coming into play.
Okay.
So we have $650 million to figure out where that's all coming from.
Wow.
Okay.
At least at last count, that's what it was.
Sounds like it's time for the big marijuana sale.
But unfortunately, all those revenues go to very specific items. So.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, really and truly, it has to be done. We have to have a balanced budget at the end of the day for the state. And money has to come from somewhere. And so we'll see where that money's going to come from. But as you know, it usually kind of hits pretty much every service sector from the state. So that'll impact grant programs and things like that too.
So pay attention.
Yeah. So we'll have to be, we'll have to be a little
Stay
vigilant.
on your toes. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Alan.
Regarding our unhoused / homeless population, I'm actually seeing more newer people, more unique individuals. Some people I lose for a while, and then months later, I'll see them again. But I'm actually seeing new people out on the streets. I can't say a significant number, but that's something I think we're going to see happening more and more. Somebody even mentioned to me, well, what happens to all of the people in California who lost their homes in those tragic fires? That they're thinking, some people may say, well, Colorado aligns with our philosophy, and it's a little cheaper. Maybe they'll be coming here. Will there be housing for people? That's one of the things. The warming centers were at the MAC were open twice in the past, I believe, 5 weeks. And I stopped in on 2 occasions, including today. Today, they said there were 33 people overnight. In the previous one, the time I was there, 45 people had taken advantage of that. So the numbers may have been even more. I don't know on that. Just want to comment on MLK. I had mentioned to Kate, could we have done something? And the woman who contacted me, and I gave her your information. Did she ever contact you? Okay.
But I know that she'll have that information and know to reach out next year.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we can process things pretty quick. We've got a pretty good process. I can usually
Yeah.
turn it around in like 3 days, which is pretty pretty good considering we've got about 30 people on the review committee. If they end up wanting to do it on public property, then they obviously they have to have,
Mhm. Right.
insurance, but
Right.
if they partner with someone and do it on their property,
Mhm.
that's pretty,
Right.
it's that person's insurance.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping she would have reached out.
I think it's hard. She was like right there. It was like, less than
Yeah.
a month at the point. So, but that's what happens a lot of times
Mhm.
with festivals. I think a lot of people have great
I
ideas.
don't understand.
Yeah, that exactly how much effort it is to put on a festival.
So it didn't completely slip by. We just didn't get it to be processed time-wise on that. Also, just on a personal thing on whether I still call it ESL, English as a Second Language. I've been doing a small class with adults for a number of years. We either meet in a home or we have met in a library. If anyone is ever interested in working with adults, you can't mess up. As long as you're speaking, as long as you know verbs and nouns and adjectives and adverbs, you're there. You could always get a group of people together and just talk. I know they have one that's formal at the library at Irving Street, but sometimes adults can't make it there. So the groups, which is about 5 different adults that I work with, it's according to their schedule that works best. So if anybody ever wants to do it, doesn't take a lot. That's it.
Thank you very much. And for record, the warming center, I believe, is still open, is open.
Yeah.
Correct.
Till tomorrow at noon.
Morning.
Mhm.
Yeah, great. All right, well, we are past time, so I do want to just direct everyone to making sure that you can just review the future meeting topics. Next session, we will focus on a more work session to bring some of our ideas and synthesize some of the great work and thinking of this board and move forward. We'll get some updates. I would also like to make sure that we bring back a few things that we had talked about and we had really brought back up, like access to food in some of our communities where we haven't really had that conversation in a while, where some of our community does not have access to fresh food through grocery stores or other areas. So I think that's something that we can bring back to the table as well. So,
She's looking.
thank you all. We'll officially adjourn at 7:37. Please stay safe, be well, and look forward to continue working with you. Great.
Thank
Stay
you.
warm.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you,
Good job.
everybody.
Night
Yes,
now.
Jillian, yes, for sure. I see that. You and I and Kate can connect and we can talk through what that would look like. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Of course, happy to do it. Yeah, the only thing I have is like a 9 o'clock Zoom at like 9 p.m. on Friday, so I'm good anytime on Friday. Good to see you, Donna. Have a good rest of your evening.
Good to see you.
Bye.